Welcome back to an electric show. NFL draft around the corner. Bears currently a betting lock to draft Caleb, but Mike Florio writing, hold on a second. Quote, the top players have far more power than they realize. Using it isn't just a luxury, it's a potential necessity. For some players, that first team becomes the key factor in determining whether he succeeds or fails at the NFL level. Zach Wilson's like, yeah, I know, man. Nick, are you buying that Caleb is set up for success in Chicago?
Yeah, you guys know I have a long relationship and really like Florio. I totally disagree with kind of his gist here. Of all the teams that need a quarterback that could potentially want Caleb, this is where he's best set up to succeed. See, New England's going to draft a quarterback. You'd rather be in the AFC East with those weapons, or there. Washington, which is in the NFC, but in the NFC East. And Terry McLaurin's a nice player, but I like the Bears set up far more. The Bears didn't just get rid of they took the Washington's best edge rusher from them to go to there. So who else are we talking about? Like the Giants? No. I think they're better set up than the Giants. Minnesota has Justin Jefferson and a coach I love, but because they're sitting at 11, in order to get Caleb, they would have to but they'd have to mortgage all their future draft picks, which are players you're going to need. The Bears have Caleb theoretically, and then also the 9th pick. Right. And then so you then add to it that who were the worst teams in football last year? The Bears play all of them. The Bears play, we can show you their schedule next season. The Bears play teams that have the first, if you say the Panthers have the first pick of the draft. Yeah. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 7th picks of the draft. Pretty good. There were 10 teams other than Chicago that won 7 or fewer games. The Bears play 7 games against those 10 teams. And so you have that setup. You have the fact, Brew, that being a B-plus quarterback makes you the best quarterback the franchise has had since Sid Luckman. So, yeah, I mean, I do think he is set up. That's true. That's literal. And so right. I think not only do I think he's set up for success, I think that this is so much better than if New England or Washington or the Giants had the first pick. I think this is the best spot he could realistically be in of the teams that are going to take a quarterback.
Look, I get that organizations certainly help a player, but I'm of the belief that a player makes his own success. All right, when Joe Burrow came out, everyone was saying, don't go to the Bengals. They're cheap. They won't build around you. It's a terrible franchise, so on and so forth. I was saying, no, if you're that guy, go to the Bengals and turn them around. And that's exactly what he's done.
Torn because they didn't have an
He's injury prone. He got hurt this year and running a rollout. All right, but he turned them around. C.J. Stroud. Houston has been terrible for the past, since Deshaun Watson left. They've been a bad franchise. In fact, that's what made him want out. They got DeMeco Ryan, so I'll give him some credit. But C.J. Stroud went there, turned around. I'll go historic. Brett Favre. I remember. Y'all know I'm older than y'all, if you didn't know. All right? I remember when Green Bay was a joke when I was a kid. I know they were historic with Lombardi and Bart Starr. When I was growing up, they were a joke. They hadn't made the playoffs in like 10 years when Brett Favre got there, and he turns them around immediately. Same thing with Joe Montana. They hadn't made the playoffs in 8 years, and he gets there, turns them around, and Peyton Manning did the same thing in Indianapolis. So if you're that guy, then you can turn a franchise around. And then you added all the other stuff. I agree. He's in the NFC. You want to be in the NFC instead of having all those quarterbacks in the AFC. And he does. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. I like DeAndre Swift. Like, they have got some players around him and will add more. So if he can't get it done there, then maybe he just can't get it done. But it's a good situation.
I like that. Here's the other piece we didn't talk about. Shane Waldron, who came over as new OC. Here's the best years under Shane Waldron. Got Jared Goff to the Super Bowl. That was an electric team. And then Geno's best year.
Far away.
People were writing him off and he didn't write him back. That was because Shane Waldron. So now Shane Waldron's in Chicago. It seems like if you have stability there, we have seen coaches come, coaches leave, and then the player also doesn't respond well to the roller coaster activity.
So I do believe that circumstances matter a lot for rookie quarterbacks. I get that. And I do think that if you are kind of the median first-round quarterback, how you look might be determined mostly by your circumstances. But I think that if you're great, you will transcend the circumstances. I also think the Bears are good circumstances, but I'm going to use Mahomes as an example in this regard. I know everyone says the Chiefs were already good, and the Chiefs had won a couple straight divisions. The Chiefs had not played in an AFC title game in 50 years before Mahomes was the starter.
We know they weren't great.
No, but my
my
point is, for 50 years, the Chiefs were a team that was consistently good and never great.
Yeah.
And now every year since then they've played in it, that's been their worst. So there is a level of, like, I don't think that there was any circumstance where Bryce was going to look good this year. I think he's on the other end of the spectrum. I also don't think there was any circumstance where a guy like Mahomes was going to fail. Now, maybe it wouldn't have had that level of quick of success, but if you believe that, the logical end of that story is there are quarterbacks who could have been Hall of Fame caliber who their careers never got off the ground. And I don't believe
that's what I'm saying. If you're that good, then you're going to make it happen.
I mean, I mean, it's Tom Brady is the example. Like, if something doesn't happen, you never even hear from the guy. I don't think he gets traded and becomes the best player of all time.
So you think that there's a scenario where Tom Brady he never gets a chance to be a starter?
Yeah.
Well, then it's hard to believe that he's the greatest player ever.
Well, Brady's really
I don't think it makes no sense. He gets developed.
That's
he was
the thing.
developed
Brady's
and became
different
great.
from most in that as much as I say Belichick hasn't had really hardly any success without Tom Brady, that gave Brady the time to grow into the GOAT. You know what I mean? Playing for Belichick, the defenses were great. So what if Drew Bledsoe doesn't get hurt?
Then I guess
who knows when we even see Brady?
Longer, but I'm saying now that we know who Tom Brady is, who he is as a competitor and as a worker, and maybe it would have taken a very long time, and obviously he wouldn't have had the 7 rings, all that stuff. I'm not saying he ends up being the unanimous GOAT no matter what, but I do think that if Brady is the guy we all believe he is, that at some point there is a team that's like, you know what? That guy gives us the best chance to win, and he's off and running.
You never see that guy. I mean, it went 6 rounds and nobody wanted him.
Right, but
they already had a shot at it. I mean, like you say, like teams had a shot to see him. And
they had a shot to see him in college. They didn't have a shot to see him in their building. The first team that had him in their building decided there's something special enough about the 6th-round pick. We're going to carry 4 quarterbacks, and there's something special enough about this guy that 2 weeks into a $100 million contract for Drew Bledsoe, he's going to keep the job even though his numbers aren't great. So my point is, like, I think and so I just think
quarterback wins alert.
That's what kept him in there. That's what kept him in there.
But I think was the intangible things he showed that he would have shown anywhere that at some point would have gotten a chance and taken off running.
Brock Purdy.
It was similar.
Very similar.
He was the best quarterback.
Now he's talking
Remember
intangible.
Shanahan went to ownership and said, you know what? He's our best quarterback.
Well, it's a sunny day in September when Caleb threw 6 touchdowns against Coach Prime's Colorado Buffaloes. Well, now Deion is weighing in on Caleb's next stop in Chicago via Mad Dog Sports Radio. Let me tell you something that I have a problem with. A kid that's coming from California for the last couple of years and went to Oklahoma, that's not terribly cold. Chicago's cold. You've got to think about that stuff when you're taking a young man. Nick, something?
Listen, here's what is something. I respect cold weather quarterbacks a touch more. So, like in the Brady versus Manning thing when it was a debate, you know, before Brady added on those 3 Super Bowls at the end, but like the moment Peyton retired, when it's like, okay, the Super Bowls in that moment were 4-2, but Peyton had the better numbers, the more MVPs, had the and had beaten him had won the last 3 playoff appearances they had played. Part of what made me lean Brady was, man, Brady did it in the elements forever, and Peyton had the dome. So I do think it's harder. I do think, and I think that's a real element. So, yeah, if your goal is to immediately put up the best stats possible, you'd rather play in a dome. If your goal is to be able to win as much as possible, I think you're better off playing outdoors because you're going to be conditioned to it when you have to go on the road in the playoffs, when you have to play in those situations. And so I do think it's something. I actually think it's something good for Caleb.
Something.
To be
good.
No, there's no doubt playing in the cold weather is harder. All right, and I don't know, are there some quarterbacks that can't handle it? Maybe. But if you're that, again, if you're that guy, you're going to be fine. And look, I don't know if Deion is questioning if Caleb can handle it, but Aaron Rodgers is from California. Played at California in college, Green Bay.
Where's
Brett Favre is from Mississippi.
Yeah.
Played at Green Bay. Patrick Mahomes from Texas. Plays in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And Eli Manning from Louisiana and played at Mississippi.
Brady's from
in
California.
New York with the Giants.
Yeah, Brady's from California.
But he played his college in Michigan if you want to, you know. But yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're that guy, go ahead and get it done in the
Moved
elements.
to California. I heard it's good weather in California. I have all these great quarterbacks coming from California.
I love him.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.